In recent years, a growing number of Israelis have chosen to leave their homeland and build new lives abroad. This trend, though not new, has reached unprecedented levels, prompting concern and curiosity both within and outside of Israel. What compels citizens of a nation known for its innovation, resilience and cultural pride to uproot their lives? The reasons are complex, multifaceted and often deeply personal. For many, the choice isn't about abandoning Israel, but about seeking opportunities, safety or stability they feel is unavailable at home. To understand this phenomenon, one must explore the social, economic and political undercurrents shaping daily life in the country. These are not isolated cases, but part of a larger pattern that reveals a striking contradiction: immense national pride juxtaposed with an increasing desire to leave. The truth behind this exodus is as nuanced as it is surprising, and it reflects the current state of Israeli society. One of the primary drivers pushing Israelis to emigrate is the high cost of living. Tel Aviv, for example, consistently ranks among the most expensive cities in the world. From housing prices to grocery bills, the financial burden of everyday life is crushing for many middle-class families. Young professionals find it nearly impossible to afford a home, even with stable jobs. Rent consumes disproportionate chunks of income, and the dream of home ownership has become increasingly out of reach. Salaries often fail to keep up with the rising cost of essentials, leaving many Israelis struggling despite being employed. This economic squeeze has led many to question whether the sacrifices required to live in Israel are worth it. In contrast, countries like Germany, Canada or Australia offer similar or better quality of life at a fraction of the cost, making the idea of leaving not only tempting but also practical. In addition to financial strain, many Israelis are leaving due to a growing sense of political disillusionment. The country's political landscape is often described as chaotic, unstable and polarized. Frequent elections, government corruption scandals and controversial judicial reforms have left many feeling alienated from the democratic ideals they once believed in. For younger generations especially, the widening gap between religious and secular communities, as well as the perceived erosion of civil rights, has contributed to a deep sense of frustration. They feel voiceless in a system that doesn't reflect their values. Some see no path forward for meaningful change within the current framework and choose to opt out entirely by moving abroad. These individuals aren't apathetic. They're disheartened. Many still care deeply about Israel's future, but believe they can no longer affect it. For them, leaving is not giving up, it's an act of protest or a means of preserving their sanity and ideals. Security is another deeply personal and pressing concern for many Israelis. Living under the constant shadow of conflict takes a psychological toll. The fear of missile attacks, terrorist incidents or military escalation is a reality that shapes everyday decisions, from where to live to where to send one's children to school. The 2023 war in Gaza and continuing regional tensions have only heightened this anxiety. For some, the mandatory military service required of all citizens is another factor in the decision to leave, especially for parents who fear for their children's safety. While many are proud to serve, others question the long-term impact of living in a militarized society. Moving abroad offers not just physical safety, but emotional relief from the ever-present state of alert. In countries where national security is rarely a topic of daily concern, Israelis often experience a level of peace and stability that's difficult to find at home. Education is another area that motivates Israeli families to look elsewhere. While Israel boasts some excellent universities and is renowned for its tech-savvy population, the public education system faces chronic underfunding, overcrowded classrooms, and disparities between different sectors of society. Many parents worry about the quality of education their children will receive, especially in marginalized communities. In contrast, education systems in countries like Finland, the Netherlands or Canada are often more equitable, better resourced and less politically charged. Additionally, secular families may feel uneasy about the increasing influence of religious agendas in the school curriculum. Some parents simply want their children to grow up in a system that emphasizes critical thinking, creativity and inclusiveness over rote memorization or ideological conformity. Immigrating in this sense becomes an investment in the next generation, a decision to give their children what they perceive to be a better shot at success and fulfillment. The issue of religious influence extends beyond education and into nearly every facet of Israeli life. The division between secular and religious communities has grown increasingly stark, and this tension plays out in politics, law, and everyday social interaction. Many secular Israelis' freedoms are being eroded by religious authorities who control marriage, burial, and even public transportation on Shabbat. This theocratic influence, coupled with a lack of civil alternatives, can create a sense of alienation in one's own country. Meanwhile, ultra-Orthodox communities are growing in both population and political power, leading to cultural shifts that some secular Israelis find uncomfortable or incompatible with their values. For those who value personal freedom and a secular lifestyle, relocating abroad may seem like the only way to live authentically. In liberal democracies where church and state are separate, they find the freedom to live without interference from religious institutions. Another factor prompting emigration is the pursuit of professional opportunity. Israel's job market, while strong in tech and innovation, can be limited in other sectors. Talented individuals in fields like academia, the arts, or humanities often struggle to find positions that pay well or offer long-term stability. The emphasis on STEM fields has left other professions underfunded and undervalued. Additionally, many feel that networking and social connections, not merit, often determine career advancement. In contrast, countries with more diversified economies and less bureaucratic red tape offer broader opportunities for professional growth. For Israeli entrepreneurs, the allure of global markets, better funding, and more scalable environments is strong. Those with dual citizenship or access to international visas frequently take the leap, hoping to advance their careers on a more global stage. Emigration in these cases is not an escape but a strategic step toward professional fulfillment. Social cohesion, or the lack of it, is another issue driving emigration. Israel is a diverse nation, home to Jews from around the world, Arabs, Christians, Druze, and more. While this diversity should be a strength, it often leads to division and mistrust. Ethnic, religious, and political lines run deep, and many people feel that unity is increasingly elusive. Tensions between Jews and Arabs, right-wing and left-wing factions, and secular and religious groups create a charged atmosphere that's hard to escape. Daily life can feel fragmented, and community ties are often limited to one's immediate social group. Many Israelis say they feel like strangers in their own country, disconnected from a national identity that no longer reflects their values. In contrast, immigrants often report feeling more integrated into multicultural societies abroad, where diversity is celebrated rather than contested. For them, leaving Israel is about finding a place that offers not only tolerance but genuine belonging. The digital age has made emigration more accessible than ever. With the rise of remote work, global mobility, and online communities, it's easier for Israelis to envision life abroad and to make that vision a reality. Social media is filled with stories of those who've left and built thriving lives elsewhere, providing both inspiration and practical advice. Online forums, virtual language classes, and remote job boards allow prospective emigrants to prepare thoroughly before making the leap. As more people make the move and share their journeys, the stigma once attached to leaving Israel has lessened. It's no longer seen as a betrayal, but as a personal decision shaped by modern realities. Technology bridges the gap between home and abroad, enabling people to stay connected with their heritage while forging new paths. This digital empowerment is fueling a wave of emigration that is less about escape and more about reinvention and global citizenship. Even for those who love Israel deeply, burnout is a common theme. The emotional toll of living in a high-pressure society, one where conflict is constant, politics are divisive, and economic survival is a daily struggle, leads many to seek respite. This burnout doesn't come from weakness, but from years of resilience wearing thin. Parents, professionals, and even lifelong Zionists sometimes reach a point where they feel they have nothing left to give. Emigration becomes a way to recharge, to find peace, or to rebuild a sense of self that has been worn down by years of stress. These people don't stop loving Israel, rather, they step away from it in order to preserve their mental and emotional health. For them, distance is not rejection, but an act of preservation, a way to live a life where joy outweighs fear and hope is more than a political slogan. Despite all these challenges, it's important to acknowledge that emigration is not only about what's wrong with Israel. It's also about the pull of other places, cities where public transport works, where healthcare is affordable, where politics are less volatile, and where opportunities seem more abundant. The globalized world has opened up possibilities that simply didn't exist a generation ago. Israelis, like people everywhere, want to thrive, not just survive. They seek places where their ambitions can flourish and where their children can grow up with fewer existential fears. The decision to leave is rarely easy and often comes with heartbreak, guilt, and cultural dislocation. But for many, it's a decision that ultimately leads to a better quality of life. It reflects not a lack of patriotism but a desire for dignity, stability, and the ability to live fully, values that transcend borders and national identity. At its core, the wave of emigration reflects a paradox. Israelis are among the most patriotic and community-oriented people in the world. They serve in the army, volunteer for causes, and maintain strong family ties. And yet, more than ever, they are choosing to leave. This contradiction reveals a nation at a crossroads, one grappling with the tension between its founding ideals and its current reality. For some, the dream of Israel has not died. It has simply evolved into something more personal, more global, and more attainable elsewhere. These emigrants carry Israel with them in their hearts, languages, and customs, even as they build new homes abroad. Their departure is not a sign of failure, but a call to examine what kind of society Israel wants to be in the future. The truth may be uncomfortable, but it's also an opportunity, a chance to reflect, reform, and renew the promise on which the country was built.